All right. Good morning, everybody. So yesterday we began the Mishnah on Lamed Beis. We were discussing the Hadas. So we began to say it. We had a couple other options, and we ended up saying it was that it was the Hadas, the myrtle. So Tana Rabbanan, last word of the second wide line.
Yeah, I have a question though.
I didn't say anything.
The parent starts with lulav, so why would we even have a hamburger that Adasa would be kosher?
Well, because we went through many of the same halachas that apply to all. It brought all the same ones, and it brought some ones that were unique to the Hadas. So the Gemara doesn't really even ask on it. The Gemara skips over that part. The Gemara skips over about the Yavesh and the Asherah. It skips all that part because that's really the same halacha. So the Gemara doesn't get into it, but it just lists it because those are halachas that apply to lulav. Now these halachas apply to Hadas. So Zakti Rabban, Tana Rabban says Kalua Kamin Kalia the Daimon Shashosh. Hadas. It says it has to be braided, right, like a braid. And it's similar to a chain. That's the Hadas, Lamed Beis, second wide line. Or now third wide line. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer. Anaf Eitz Avos, right? It says, no, the pasuk says, Anaf Eitz Avos, Eitz Shitam, Eitz Apiria, Apiria, in other words, a tree whose basically fruit tastes similar to its wood. Shava Daf Yomi is Hadas, that's referring to Hadas. Satana, Eitz Avos Kasher. So it says over there, it's avos kasher, sheina avos possible. But if it's not avos, it's possible. What does that mean? Say avos. What does it mean? It has to be avos, but if it's not avos, it's no good. So Rabbi Yehuda, who the kaima tlasa tarve bikina. It has to have 3 leaves that come up at each growth, right? Each growth by the hadas. That's what we have. The way we do it now. And Rav Kana Omar afilu trevechad, and Rav Kana says even if it's only 2, and then there's a one with 1. It's not all lined up 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. It's 2 and 1. And Rav Acha Bereder Ava Mahadra Trevechad. He used to actually look with Afka one that was like 2 and 1, 2 and 1. However, nothing Mipume de Rav Kana, since it came out of the holy mouth of Rav Kana. However, Amli Mar Meimar Ravashi. So Ravashi Abba Lahu Hadas Shaita Kari. So he said his father used to call it, this is the Hadas Shaita. It's not a good Hadas. You shouldn't look for one that's 2 and 1. Rather, you should look for one that when there's buds, it comes out in groups of 3. 4 lines from the bottom. Tanur Rabbanan.
They're saying that even Hadas Shota is kosher.
According to Rav Kahana, he would use that type of Hadas, and others said no. If we don't use this one, that's called the Hadas Shota, like a deranged Hadas, right? So we don't use that one. So it's machlokes as to use that one or not. If most of the leaves fell off and there remained the minority, it's kosher. As long as basically the braid, right, that it was plaited is kayems. So the Gemara says is still intact. So the Gemara says haguva kasher. I understand. First he said if most leaves fell off, right, it's still kosher. And then he says, as long as the plate remains. So cave in the nasule tray avos right? If you have groups of 3 and 2 of the leaves fell off because the majority fell off, so there's only 1. So how does it remain plated? How does it remain like this braid appearance? Some Abaye says, no, you can find the mishkachasla. Turn the page. The asa mitzara, right? The place of asa mitzara, right? The asa from the border, right? Dekaima Shiva Bechad Kina. They used to go ahead and have basically 7 leaves from each growth. We have 3. They would have 7 grow. And ever the Chinasur Abba, when a majority would fall out, so 4 would fall out. Pashlut Tlasa, there remain 3, and that 3 would be okay. And Amar Abaye says, Shmamino, Hayasa Mitzara, Kosher Lahashana. So this type of asa mitzara, as it was called, is one can fulfill his obligation with the lulav, with the mitzvah of daled minos. The rest is pshita; it's obvious. So Moshe said, "Oh, we have the east lay shem levite lemis kasher." Since it's not called an asa, it's called an asa mitzara. So therefore, maybe it's not kosher. Maybe dafka needs something which is called the hadas, right? So kamash blood, it's okay. So the Gemara says, that to use it doesn't have to be specifically the hadas. It could be something which is known as the asa mitzara, which is similar, which it's almost this identical, just grows more leaves, right? Because even though it's not called the asa, it's right, it's part of the hadas, it's part of the same species. So even though it has its own unique name, right? So maybe it's excluded. So Gemara says no. It says eitz avos. It doesn't just say asa specifically. Anything of the asa family, even the asa mitzara would be included. Fine. Tana Rabbana. Yavshu rov alav nishar b'shleisha bade alin lachin kasher. So if right, this is basically the main halacha, right? That we was now when we have our hadassim. If it dries out most of them, but it remains at least 3 buds, right? 3 places where they grow of 3 leaves, kosher. Then it's kosher. It has to be in the top.
We're talking about in one place there's still the 3 leaves around.
Yes, right. As Rashi, right. So the way how to learn this, so Rashi says, Shleisha bad alin lachin. Says Shleisha badim uchol bad bad. Shleisha alin lachin.
3 by 3.
So
Right, 3 by 3. But say Shleisha alin lo havi office. Right. So now this one has to have 3 by 3. This one, the 3 grow in the same place. This one,
from
3
the
areas,
same-
right, for the same little bud or whatever it is. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So as long as there's at least 3 and they're towards the top, right, then it's okay. Fine, 2 dots. Now we said in the Mishnah, Nikdim Rosh, the top was cut off, which was similar to the case of Lulav, but there's something unique by Hadassim. So Tani Ula Bar Chinana Nikdim Rosh also about tomorrow. If you cut off the top of the Hadas and it grows on top of it some sort of green date, is that necessarily a fruit? It's the Rashi says Kamin tomorrow, okay, Haninsa, right? In other words, it's something which is like, looks almost, it has like a greenish appearance of a date. It grows on top of the Hadas, it's kosher. So boy Rabbi Yirmiyah niktem roisho me'erev yantif. The Alsalai about tomorrow b'yantif. Now, when yantif starts, that's when one has the obligation of the mitzvah. Anything before it's not already fit for the mitzvah yet, right? It's only when yantif starts, we take a snapshot. We say, okay, now is the chiyuv, this is my hadas. Okay, now the question is like this. When Shabbos or when Yantif began, it was cut. When it was cut, something was cut as no good as possible. But then this greenish, bud grew at the end, which makes it kosher. So basically, it started off Yantif no good, and then it became good. So mahu yesh dichui eitz a mitzvah olo. Do we say that once something is pushed off for a mitzvah, it's no longer good, right? You find it by karbanos. If a karban is no good, as some sort of blemish or something which makes it no good, but a little different than a blemish that goes away, but something that is no longer good, and then all of a sudden it becomes good again, right? There's a whole machlokes of yesh dichu eitz mitzvah olo. So the Gemara says, so you want to know if we started Yantif, it was considered to be cut on top. Then a day or 2 later, all of a sudden it grows on top and there's something that you can go ahead and use it. So maybe let's learn from here. The Tanah we learn in the Mishnah. Person does shchita, he has to go ahead and cover the blood. So Kesiv ben Izgala, if he covered it and then let's say it becomes uncovered, pater, he's pater because he already did the mitzvah. He already covered it, and even though it became uncovered, it's okay. It's not, he already did the mitzvah. Kisiya ruach, if the wind covered it, he didn't cover it, but the wind covered it, chayiv l'chasas. He's obligated to go ahead and cover it. So the Gemara says, I'm Rabbi Rechan, I'm Rabbi Yechon, Yishanu ela shechazav in his gala. That which he has to go ahead and cover it. If he didn't cover it initially, because let's say the wind covered it, is only if it became uncovered, then he has to go ahead and recover it. But if he didn't go ahead, and if it wasn't uncovered, it was just remained covered from the wind, pater mechasos, then he's pater from going ahead and covering it. So the Gemara says, "Vavina ba ki chazav in his gala." Even when it becomes uncovered, why is he obligated to let it covered? Right? Since once it's no longer fit for the mitzvah because it already became covered by the wind, it should be done, right? So, but
what are we discussing?
Discussing covering blood.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Right.
Okay.
So when the shechita cover the blood, so now he has to cover it. So once it becomes uncovered, right? Once it becomes covered, it should be pushed off. Amar Rav Papa. So says Rav Papa. So he says, no, Zosamaris ain't dichui eitz mitzvahs. There's no dichui by mitzvahs because over there there was no obligation anymore because the wind covered it. Once it becomes uncovered, I have to go ahead and cover it now. So even though it was dichui by mitzvah, it was pushed off. It wasn't fit for the mitzvah because it was already covered. But once it becomes uncovered, right, then it's okay. So we see over there that the concept of dichui doesn't apply by mitzvahs. So Gemara says, so the Rav Papa Guvim, he asked me, they ain't dicha mitzvahs, loshno, right? So he says that Rav Papa, he himself asked this question. Do we learn from this that there is no dicha mitzvahs? Loishna l'kulav, loishna l'chumra. That doesn't make a difference whether it's a kula or a chumra. A dilma sveika misveikle l'chumra b'ina l'kula lo yamrina. Or maybe because of suffix. In that case, it was a suffix. Do we say there's dichui or not? If you say there's no dichui, right? So therefore we obligate him, right? Because of suffix. Because if you hold there's no dichui, there is dichui, then I don't have to cover it anymore because the wind covered it. So we say no, we'll go to chumrah. But maybe in our case, when the dichui
maybe he still, even though the wind covered it, he still had an obligation to go ahead and cover it.
Only because of a suffix.
Right.
Because the chumrah.
When you go to the
chumrah, we'll say machmer, go ahead and recover it. You have to recover it. But in our case, right, you say, right, it was no good when Yantav started. All of a sudden it grows on top of it, right? Maybe we'll say it's okay now. So maybe that's a kula. So who says we say that there's whether it's dicha or not is by kula? There's no dicha when it comes to a kula.
The concept that it's not created by Yantiv, so then.
Right. So that's the question. If that's exactly the question. If it's not rated by Yantif, can never be good, or if it somehow becomes good on Yantif, I can use it. That's the question. That's the concept of dichur. Is it pushed up? Because once the clock starts, when Yantif starts.
In general, we don't look at the. If it's good for the moment, we use it for the moment.
Right.
It's like half mitzvah. It comes, you do it.
It's good,
So
but
you don't really look at the.
But when it comes to karbanos, when it comes to karbanos, right?
Yeah.
If at some point this animal is no longer fit, it's pushed off. Can it become good again? That's the question, right? That's the question.
If it's become good again in the time of that originally you thought about the korban, then it's okay. You don't care that you waited to the time of the korban.
But not by all karbanos, right? Not by all karbanos, right? That let's see Rashi example. Right, that's right. He just says by karbanos we find it, right? But by karbanos we find the concept of dichur. Once something is pushed off, you can't use the animal again. Even if it becomes kosher again, we say no, you got to use a different carbon. That animal is no
it
good.
Become kosher before the time that was designated for it.
If it was before the designation,
that's what I'm saying.
if it was before Yantif, then there's no issue, right?
Okay.
No, if your hadas grew that little bud 2 weeks before Sukkot, it's okay, right? Very good. So the Gemara says take it. The Gemara doesn't give it tears. So lema kitanai. Let's say it's a machlokas tonight. All right. Ovar, right? The likton. A person went ahead and we and the next case of the mission, which we're going to get into soon, is if there's too many berries on the hadas. It's no good. It's no good. It's too many berries on it, right? So it's considered to be speckled. It's no good. So let's say and if he picks them up before Yantif, it's beautiful, right? It's fine, no problem, right? No issue, right? You pick up before Yantif. But if Yantif starts and there were berries on it, so it's no good. But let's say he violated Yantif and he picked them. Avar v'liktan puzzle. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Divrei Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Tzadok, right? Change it around, right? Rabbi Tzadok. And B'chavim Ma'imrim, B'chavim Machshirim. B'chavim say it's no problem. So apparently say it's good, right? And Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Tzadok says it's no good. So lulav ain't sich agud. Maybe they hold that the lulav does not need to be all brought together. I mean, even if you have to bring it together, maybe we don't learn lulav from sukkah. Because when it comes to sukkah, it says right? When it comes to sukkah, right, you can't go ahead and put up schach and then put up walls afterwards or whatever it is that you build the walls afterwards. When you build it, you have to build it in a kosher manner. You can't build it in a possible manner and then fix it for it to become kosher. You have to build it in a kosher manner because it says tasa, right? So too, same thing when it comes to lulav. I put it all together. My hadassim are puzzle. I pluck off the berries. Now I made the hadassim kosher and everything should be kosher. No, you can't do that. Only if you learn.
To begin with.
Only if you learn from sukkah. Because sukkah says tasa, but other halachas we don't care. You want to fix it, make it good, that's fine. But if you learn from sukkah, it's no good, right? So my lab ultimately demand the puzzle. Yesh dichli it's a mitzvah. The one who holds this puzzle because he holds this dichli it's a mitzvah. In other words, that since the berries are on the beginning of Reb Tzedek is no good. But the one who says it's kash t'chamim say we don't care. There is we don't say the yesh dichli, and therefore just because it wasn't good earlier, you take off the berries, it's good. You don't need tasav lemon asui, right? It doesn't have to be made in a kosher manner. You can fix it and make it good, so it should be fine. So says low. No, maybe that's not the machlokes. The kuli alma. Lo amrinan yesh dichli eitz mitzvahs. They say no. A mitzvah, like Yigal was saying, if it's good, even if it came good after the fact, it's fine. Maybe they're arguing as to whether the halacha of lulav is like that of sukkah. One holds you learn from the lulav from sukkah that when you make it, you have to make it in a kosher manner. You can't make it in a puzzle manner and just fix it afterwards. And the other one says no, that's okay. Only by sukkah has that special halacha of tasach lemon asui as opposed to by lulav. Or viboy sema. Or you can say like this: isvilan lulav tzrich aged. Or maybe it has to do with whether lulav requires to put them together. Because remember, the mitzvah only starts when I put them together. If I didn't put them together yet, the mitzvah didn't start. In other words, I haven't started the mitzvah yet. The kuli amayafina lulav masukah. The everyone maybe holds that lulav. If you have to make a lulav, i.e., you have to put them together. It's like sukkah. You have to build it in a kosher manner. Over here, they're arguing as to whether lulav needs agate. Well, plukes the Tanya today is same machlokes is this the Tanya. We're learning brisa. Lulav bein agud bein sheinu agud kosher. Lulav, whether or not you put them together, you tie them together, or you don't tie them together, it's okay. So according to that opinion, you don't need to tie it together. So you can pick the berries because there's never a mitzvah of now is the mitzvah, right? Building it, putting it together.
Isn't it the time today is more for nochutz, for comfort? Because
right.
If you physically doing bonded together, you only rent.
Right. Well, this is a machlokes. Clear machlokes. The rabbanon all it's kosher, right? And Rabbi Yehuda, Amer eged kosher, shein aged kosher puzzle. Rabbi Yehuda holds you have to build it together. Chachamim say it's okay. Rabbi Yehuda says you have to put it together. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you have to put it together. If I put it, in other words, when Shabbos Yom Tov starts and they're tied together and the berries are on, I pluck it off. So according to Rabbi Ezer, Rabbi Tzadok, right? Would it be good? He holds it doesn't be good because he holds you need agate. According to Rabbanan, even if the berries are on, so the mitzvah didn't start yet. The mitzvah only starts when I make the bracha. So therefore, I can pull off the berries anytime before. Or really, you can't pull off the berries. But if I violate a yontif and pull off the berries, it would be okay. So my time with Rabbi Yehuda was there is according to Rabbi Yehuda who holds tzarich agud. So Yalef lakicha he learns a gzer shava of lakicha me'agudas esav. When we were commanded to go ahead and take the hyssop when it came by Yitzis Mitzrayim. Ksiv says there lakach l'mechem rishon. Take for you.
What would be the halacha about
We'll get there afterwards. He'll take on the first day. It says by lulav. Hasim says there by agudas ezov. It says you take a bundle of ezov. So malol and aguda, just like over there was a bundle afkan aguda. So to over here, when we take it, our lulav it has to be bundled. It has to be tied together. For Rabbanan, and Rabbanan say let's lakicha. They don't learn this gzer shava of lakicha, and therefore one is not obligated to necessarily tie them, to bind them together. So man tana laha, who is the author who taught this? The Tanna Rabbanan lulav mitzvah la'agda. There's a mitzvah to tie them together, right? This is sort of similar to what Yigal was saying. But if you don't tie them together, it's still kosher. So it's a mitzvah to put them together, but if you don't do it, it's okay. So Mani, whose opinion is this? Rabbi Yehuda. If it's according to Rabbi Yehuda, kilo agdo, my kosher. He says if you don't tie it, if you don't bind it, it's no good at all. So this says the evidence okay. And Rabban, if it's called Rabban, my mitzvah kavi. What's the mitzvah? If there's no gzer shava of kicha, then you can do what you don't need to tie it together at all, even l'chadchila. So Gemara answers l'yoylam Rabban. Really, it is the Rabbanan. Mitzvah mishum zeh keli v'anveim. The mitzvah is to beautify it by binding them together. You make it beautiful. You make the mitzvah nice. You make it nice. The hinder. Fine. 2 dots. 3 lines from the bottom. Or if the berries were too many, were more than leaves. This Rabbeinu Hagadol said, I think it's Rameir, or Rav, excuse me, right? Rav said, Amar v'hamakom yeh ba'Yisrael, right? And the hamakom, right? That he should be proven, from Hashem. V'hamakom yeh ba'Yisrael, help lo yishanu elo b'makom echad. We're only talking about if the berries are in one place, right? Aval b'shayim shloshim mekamas, kosher. But if it's 2 or 3 places, it's okay. So Rava says, what are you talking about? Shnaim, turn the page. Right, those that I'm just going to get down to the Mishnah. If anyone wants to leave early, Shnaim v'shloshim mekamas having maneuver apostle. Understand if you have 2 or 3 places of majority of berries, it becomes a speckled hadas, and it shouldn't be good, right? Rather, if you say what Rav teaches, he taught like this. Oh, show you enough of merubin, but Allah, if there are more berries than leaves, then it's possible. And Amar Rav Chizda, and says in this, Rav Chizda davar zeh Rabbeinu Hagadol Amar, and this, right, Hashem should help continue. This is Rav, he said, Lo yishanu ela anavav shechayros. We're only talking about where the berries were black, of anavav yirakas, but if they were green, you can only see them. Mine the hadas, really part of the hadas, and therefore it will be okay. It doesn't appear to be speckled at all. The kosher. And Amar Papa says, Papa, Adumas kishcharos damian, right? The adumas are similar to dark. Dam Rab Chanina high dam shachar adamu ela shalaka, right? That red is really like black, right? And when it comes to blood, if you see black, one time that right, it was the red was the black was once upon a time red, but now it was basically aged, so the red and black would be the same. Fine. So imiyatan kosher. If he goes ahead and he takes them off, then it's kosher. If he takes off the berries, then it's kosher. So the Gemara says, "Tomatino emas." When does he go ahead and take off the berries? Then it becomes kosher. Right? Too many berries, no good. Pluck off the berries, it's fine. So when does he say? If you're saying before he ever puts them together, right? Just sitting at his table, shita, it's obvious. Ella, rather, the bazadagde, right? Rather, it must be after he put them together and he took them off. So dichumi karahu, and this is done on Yontif, right? So if it was when Yontif started, there were too many berries on it. It was no good. That was dichumi karahu. So dichumi kara lo havi dichui. Let's learn from here that if something is dichui, it's pushed off, it's not fit, it can later become fit on Yontif, right? Because that's what we're saying. So the Gemara says no, li'elam basar de'agde. Maybe we're saying that no, it was really after that it was put together, right? Uksaver eged hazmana b'ya. Did I skip the line or no? What's the agde? Dichumi karo. Dichumi karo levi dichui. So he goes, no, the yelam busted the agde. Really, it was after he went ahead and put together. Uksaver eged hazmana b'yamahu. That when you go ahead and tie it, right? Even though you tie it together, you're not. That's not the mitzvah, right? If I haven't tied when Yontif starts. That's not me doing the mitzvah, right? That's only hazmana. That's only me setting it aside for the mitzvah. But that's not the beginning of the mitzvah. So therefore, and therefore the hazmana, we don't say you take a snapshot when Yontif starts, is it good or not? No. You wait till you start the mitzvah. I'm starting the mitzvah, is it good or not? So therefore, the dichui does not come into play according to this opinion, right? Before we thought that when Yontif starts, you take a look. It's not deicha. So he says no. When Yontif starts, it's only designated for the mitzvah, but the mitzvah didn't start yet. So therefore, since the mitzvah didn't start yet, there is no dichus.
First of all, the mitzvah is not going to start until the daytime.
Exactly, right. And we puts it together.
Started the night before.
Right. So therefore, we don't care then. It's only considered to be hazman. Then we say b'yomtiv. One does not go ahead and take him off at Yontif. So he goes off at Litan, mai. But if he does go ahead and remove him, mai. So we said kosher. So now the Gemara says the ishcha amos. When did it become dark? Right? When did they become bad? So ilema the ishcha me'etmo. If we're saying that it came yesterday before Yontif started, so dichumi karu. Maybe they're initially no good. Tishimine dichumi kara. Right? Deloy havi dichui. So let's learn if they're bad initially before Yontif, right? And then he removes it now. So that's nothing. So elalav, no, rather the ishchor b'yontif. Rather, maybe they became bad on Yontif. So this is the case of Nira. When Yontif started, they were good. V'nizcha, and then they became black, and then they were no good. So Shema Mina Nira v'Nidcha Chayz v'Nira. We can learn from there maybe that if it was good and then it becomes bad and then it becomes good again, all on Yontif, it would be okay. So let's learn from this. I said, "Lo, the Yalam Dishkar Meikara." Really, it was got black from before Yontif. The Havi Dichu Meikara, which was Dichui from the beginning. Delay Havi Dichu was not considered to be Dichui Tifsha Mina. That we can learn about Nira v'Nidcha Chayz v'Nira like Tifsha. But if it was good and then became bad and then good again, that we can't learn out. So we can only learn out that if it was bad in the beginning and then it became good, we can learn it out. And Taner Rabban and Emtin b'Yantif, you can't go ahead and remove them by Yantif. Mishum Rabbi Yezer, Rabbi Shimon, Amru Mantinon. You can't take it off. Why? You're fixing a utensil. Before this, the hadas is no good. By me plucking off the berries, I'm making it a good hadas. So therefore, I'm a saking kli. It's like I'm fixing a utensil. That's the malach. That's the Rabban here.
So it doesn't matter Yom Tov. It doesn't matter.
Yontif, right? Yeah. Before then, you could do it. Right. Before me, no problem. And so Amr Ravashi, you go to Shaliktal Nachila. No, if he took it for eating, that's when he says it's kosher. So Gemara says Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon Kavua, and he holds like his father. Damar, he holds Davar Shem Iskavi Mutter. There's something which is Davar Shem Iskavi. He doesn't intend to fix the hadas. He intends to eat. He's hungry. He wants a snack. Therefore, it's okay. But Abai and Rabba both hold that, like Rabbi Shimon would agree that even though he says normally a davar shem is kavi is mutter, if you don't intend to do something, you only intended to eat, he didn't intend to fix the das, that's okay. That's only if that doesn't automatically happen. A psik ratio, right? But a psik ratio automatically happens by me taking the berries to eat 100% of the time. It's going to become a kosher hadas. So then you can't say those weren't his intentions. That was included in his intentions because it automatically happens.
Especially when you said bracha, we forget it.
Yeah. So there's a Hakamai Askinan. So my answer is Hakamai Askinan, the Islay Hoshana Achrisi. No, if he had other Hoshanas, then he literally doesn't care if he eats the berries off this or makes his own kosher. Because he has other Hoshanas. My moves in the other room. So therefore it doesn't make a difference. So finally, Tadra Abadar Nehudar Agdal B'Yantif. If it was untied on Yantif, go ahead and wrap it like the vegetables. Just wrap something around it, but don't tie it. Why the envio, right? Go ahead and tie a bow. My answer is no. This is according to my opinion, who holds that when you tie a bow, it's considered to be a full-fledged knot. See, Rabbi Yehuda, if it's Rabbi Yehuda, Egem also, Rabbi Yehuda requires a complete eget. He doesn't require just to wrap it around. He requires a full-fledged knot, which you can't do on Yontif. So my answer is no. Hi, Tanas Kavase Bechada. He holds like number one that a bow is no good. That it does, and he argues with another that he really doesn't need a complete type of. All right, stop here. Everybody. Everyone have a wonderful day.